before I had equipment, I used to make my beats on cassette tapes, and that's what you call those pause tapes. And I learned it. I thought I invented it really. I came to find out later on like that. You know, this is common practice. But I used to tape my favorite songs off the radio station because there was no way my mom was gonna buy me hip hop music, and eventually she broke down and she did.
Why not?
Because of the profanity, and you know, she just felt, especially coming from another country, she just felt like, oh, this is this bad American music my son is listening to. What the hell is this? And she couldn't understand what they were saying. That was bad enough. Anyway, and she did eventually. She brought me LL Cool J's Walking with a Panther from Dynasty Records, Coliseum on Jamaica, Queens, 161st 5th Street.
Wow, that's
and I still remember it. And I lost it that same day. She took me to get pizza as a treat, and I left the damn record in the pizza shop. And it took me years to find that record. Anyway, so I would tape my songs off of the radio because my mom wouldn't buy me this music, and I did it by pressing pause and then taking my finger off the pause button and back on the pause button before the DJ would start talking again, so it would sound like it was the whole song, right? And even though it was the edited version, I'd have the song on cassette and I listened to it over and over again in my Walkman. So when I figured out that you can extend songs by pressing pause, then I started using 2 tape decks and pressing pause and taking old breaks and drum loops and samples at the time that I thought were hot. And mind you, I'm still a child, and I just looped them over and over again.
How old were you when you were doing this?
This is 12, 13 years old. Okay. And I pressed the pause button and just loop it over and over again. And then my boys in the area that I went to school with would come and rap over those tapes, and that's how it all started. Once I got a drum machine, it was a rap.
So when did you buy your first drum machine?
Well, before the drum machine, it was a tape deck, and after the tape deck, my stepdad, like, he noticed how much time I liked to spend on my music, so he brought me a small sampler. But eventually I outgrew it because it was very limited, and from there I moved on to my first drum machine. I got my first drum machine when it's funny that we live in this capitalistic society. The minute that you turn 18, they like to give you credit, right? So I ran out and got a credit card and bought my first drum machine. I'm sorry, I credited my first drum machine. I still ain't paid for that drum machine. But I'm paying for it now, though, I bet, some kind of way. So I went to Sam Ash and I swiped it and I took it home, and I don't think I came out of my room for months and months and months. And there was no YouTube to learn how to use it. The instruction manual was like this thick. I was not going to read it, so I just sat there all day until I figured out how to use it. And I can probably teach a college course on how to use that now.
Who are your influences today in like current day music?
And what kind of music?
Current day music, your beats.
Current. My inspiration? Man, life is my inspiration. Musically, life is what makes me want to make music, because life is just so rough. You know, it's kind of like how I get rid of all my frustrations, how I express myself. Like, people say I'm a really good speaker. I don't think I speak well. I don't even like to talk to people at all. I like to just make music. So in my opinion, I kind of like speak through my music. But because life is my inspiration for music, people or musicians that inspire me to make music, or that I admire their music enough to make me want to go out and make my own music, I'd say currently, it's hard to say because I don't like a lot of the new music. Well, a lot of my influences.
Tell me
why.
Why
I don't like current music, or I mean, well, I'm a DJ, so sometimes I have to. I mean, and it's not all bad. Some of it is decent enough that I play it. But pop music is just so bad, you know what I mean? And it's always been that way. Especially since Michael's passed, because at least he made really good pop music. You know, Stevie Wonder made really good pop music. And that era's gone. It's coming past. And I mean, I think that there are artists that have the potential to make that type of music, but I don't hear any of them on the radio. I mean, some of them have great voices, some of them have great production, but the music itself doesn't touch me personally.
You said some of them have the
some of them have the potential, sure.
Like who?
I would say I do it by genre. As far as R&B singers, I think Neo writes really nice songs. And you can hear the Michael Jackson influence in him. Huge Michael Jackson influence. That's probably why he writes such great songs. He has a pretty good voice as well. I think artists, as far as hip hop, I think Drake is probably the only artist that kind of catches my ear, because he has some wit to him, and you can tell that he studied the old school rappers a little bit enough to make him so witty now and innovative. He's not the greatest MC, but it's kind of like what we have to settle for now. You know what I mean? So shout out to Drake, I guess. As far as that was hip hop and R&B, which is kind of what I mainly listen to. As far as soul and neo soul and that whole movement, I love like the Anthony Hamiltons. I love Maxwell's new album. And in fact, I was telling somebody the other day how I thought that Maxwell was our generation's Al Green, you know, and because he just seems so humble about his approach to music. As as far as underground music, like I think New York has so many dope underground artists right now and I know the show features on underground artists, so people get a taste of all of them, myself included. So all of the underground artists in New York City right now doing it, from Dada GOLDENCHILD to the A-Likes to Homeboy Sandman to Fresh Daily to Carnage, just so many, man. The list goes on and on.
Okay, so you DJ as well. Tell us a little bit about DJing for people who are interested in one.
Okay, cool. DJing is an art within itself. It's cool because it's like you're playing music, but you're playing other people's music. Now here's the trick though, you have to be really good at selecting what songs to play. And especially if you're a DJ that has to play to a crowd. Because if you don't make that crowd move, then God bless you, you don't have a problem. You know? So DJing is cool because it forces you to have to study music from a listener's perspective. And that's what I love about it. As far as my approach to music, especially since I do like underground, alternative, hip-hop music, whatever you want to call it, in my opinion, the best producers of all time have been DJs, you know, from Marley Marl, and rest in peace, Mr. Magic, to P Rock, to DJ Premier, even Dr. Dre started off as a DJ. Excuse me. So the best producers are always DJs. DJ Scratch, shout out to DJ Scratch, and the list goes on. Dilla, you know, DJing is super important. I got into DJing because ever since I was a child, even before I got into hip-hop music, I would always gravitate towards my mom's records. Like, she has pictures of me just digging through her records. Like, I thought that they were the coolest things. I love the covers. I like how they spun around in circles. It's interesting because my daughter does the same thing. Maybe it's genetic, I don't know. But like, I just love records. So after I was making the pause tapes, I had bought, my stepdad helped me buy some DJ equipment. I was doing that from junior high school to today. And even though the technology's changed, the approach is still the same. And it pretty much, again, comes down to you being selective about what songs to play. And sometimes that means playing music that you might not want to play. But if that's the case, in my opinion, you should just go about playing it differently than the radio does, or than another DJ might play, which means that you might play the remix or play a really good mix of another song to come in right after it, you know. And everybody has a different techniques. That's just mine.
So where would you suggest to go and hear good DJs today?
Where would I suggest to go hear good DJs today? On the internet. And the internet is a curse and a blessing, but the good thing about it is that you can now go out and do whatever it is you want to do as far as being a listener. You know? If you want to hear good music, you don't have to subject yourself to the same 10 songs that come on the radio anymore. You can go on iTunes, you can go on the internet and listen to whatever it is that you want to listen to, you know, so you become your own selector. And that's the dope part about it, you know. As far as venues, like, I live in New York City, and the whole New York is a good place to go to hear music. You can go to Brooklyn and catch some really good live acts. You can go to Manhattan and catch some really good DJs, you know. I'm not going to give anybody too much exposure because I feel they get enough of it, you know. So shout out to all the up-and-coming underground artists and DJs, and it's just about them, you know. So everybody's hustling out, everybody's grinding to get that exposure. And again, like, the internet is key. Whether it's to promote yourself or to get good music, I'd say the internet, hands down.
You must travel a lot as a DJ.
Yeah, travel. I mean, mainly domestically. You know, I haven't reached to that level. I'll go overseas. I'm working on it though, because I want to go to Malaysia real soon one day. I heard they like hip hop out there.
Alright. Okay. So who have you produced work for?
Okay, cool.
An artist you've worked with?
Most notably, like, what I'm really known for is the Hell Yeah track that I produced. I actually co-produced that with a whole production collective for Dead Prez. And the way it went, M1 from Dead Prez at the time was looking to make a production collective of up-and-coming underground DJs, producers, and musicians locally in the area. And someone had gave him a beat CD, and he called me personally, like, yo, I'm working on these things, and I think you should be part of it. So I went down to the studio, and he heard my beats. He's like, this is just what I was looking for. So I came down in my drum machine, and, you know, it's a whole bunch of brothers in the room just smoking and drinking and having a good time. And we came up with tracks every day. Like, whenever we got together, we just make tons of beats collectively. And one of those beats was Hell Yeah, the remix. So Jay-Z had agreed to do the remix with Dead Prez, and his vocals were already on the Pro Tools file. So M came to me and was like, Meta, I want to do like like a remix is a little bit more up tempo to set it off, breaking. I know you have it, I know you can flip it, so I did, and that came out to be what what people hear today, the Hell Yeah remix featuring Jay-Z. Besides that, I'm also known for helping the artist Model Technique come out with his first single, which was called Industrial Revolution, featuring DJ Rock Raider on a chorus. Rest in peace to Rock Raider as well. And that came to be because at the time I used to be a battle producer, and that's huge now. Beat battle.
One second.
Sure.
Just explain beat battle.
Yeah, I was just about to get into that. Beat battling started off, to my knowledge, here in New York City. I'm sure it's been done other places, but again, to my knowledge, that's my disclaimer. In the late 90s, and yeah, right before 2000. And what it was a group of promoters. Shout out to Rocky from Eureka too. They had this idea to bring in the crowd on their slow nights by getting local producers to play beats against each other, and then the crowd would judge against whose beats was best. Like now it's huge. Red Bull they got corporate sponsorship now, it comes on TV, but way before that, they were held in small clubs, and I just jumped into that scene immediately. As soon as I saw the flyer, I was like, yeah, this is for me, I'm in there. So I went in, and shout out to my partner Danger from the Beat Bandits, as a solo artist first, and I teamed up with my homeboy, and we were just crushing everybody. Shout out to DJ Static too. Rugged and Raw. A lot of producers came out of that era, and basically what happened was there was a brother by this named Model Technique who was outside of every venue in New York at the time, just battling everybody lyrically. And I said to him, listen, you need to rap on my beats because I don't know what you're rapping to right now, but you're a dope MC. So I gave him Industrial Revolution and a whole bunch of other tracks. Industrial Revolution got picked up by DJ Eclipse from Fat Beats, and Fat Beats put it out through Uncle Howie Records. I don't remember what year that was in. It was right before I got down with the whole RPG family. That got Immortal Technique, the hip hop quotable in the source, making him the first independent artist not signed to have a hip hop quotable from the track that I did with him. And then Technique had the brilliant idea to get DJ Rock Raider to do the cuts, and it all came together very, very well. And besides that, I've done beats for artists like AZ and tons of other artists up and coming in the New York scene. Right now, I'm working on the Air Lights album. Shout out to Air Lights.
Do you work with other kinds of artists?
Yeah, thank you for asking me. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. I also do R&B and reggae music. I actually produced a song for U.S. Virgin Islands reggae band by the name of Midnight. The Midnight band is just incredible. And I produced a song called Fighting for her with them. The brother that I met through the homie M1. Shout out to Tippy and everybody in the Virgin Islands. And get my reggae on too. You already know music culture is a very important aspect of music. One of my favorites, in fact.
So, anything before you want to end this Q&A session?
What would you say to a little kid who was watching the TV like you were when you were 11?
I love that question, man, because I never know how to answer it. I would say to all the youth that are listening, like, regardless if you want to get into music or not, whatever it is that you want to do in life, like, pursue it passionately, and don't expect to earn money from it neither. Like, if you do something, you should do it for the sake of just doing it. And if, in fact, it's your destiny to become rich and famous from it, then all of that will fall into place. But don't stress that. Just do it from right here. Now, it's funny because when it comes to the arts, there's really no formula how to do it. If you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, you go to law school, you go to business school, you go to medical school. But if you want to be an artist, besides maybe going to, art school, there's really no path to go about it. You just kind of got to do it. And that's cool, because it poses a challenge, and those challenges is what help you create good art, regardless of the medium. So do it from right here. That's what I say to the kids.